Today's video is all about making dog food. It's something that my family has done for a long time. We make homemade dog food. And when Ollie turned 1, after he had gotten everything he needed from regular puppy food, with my vet's help and consultation, I switched him over to homemade dog food. So it's something that I feel pretty passionate about, feeding him good quality food that a person could eat. That's kind of how I look at it. A person could eat this. It wouldn't be very flavorful, unfortunately, but you could eat the same food as your dog. Whereas I would never eat dog food from a bag. So that's just our experience, and it's worked out really, really well. He's really healthy, hasn't had any tummy problems or anything like that. And part of it, I think, we attribute to the food. So that's what today's video is all about. I'll include the recipe if you want it. You'll see in the video, this batch made kind of a smaller portion, I would say, 2 full sheet pans of food, which then we freeze, and then every couple of days we take another container out of the freezer so that it's relatively fresh when he eats it. He's a very small dog, so he obviously doesn't eat very much every day. So it lasts for quite a while. I would say this batch will last 3 weeks, maybe a month. And we always make it with a few still in the freezer so that it's never like an emergency kind of thing. So I hope you enjoy the video. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll try my best to answer them. We've used the same recipe almost the whole time. Very few changes. One time we tried veal because it was on sale at Costco and it was fine. Nothing special. And we've given him chicken before also as well, but it's just a little easier to do it with beef, we find. So yeah, enjoy the video. Let me know what you think. If you feed your dog something totally different, but also homemade, let me know. Would love to change it up for him. I'm sure he would love that. So we need our Instapot. We need our beef, carrots, and pumpkin. And I put the beef in first and I cook it on high pressure for 30 minutes. It takes a lot longer than 30 minutes because the Instapot has to come up to pressure. And then when it's done, I always put a dishcloth over it and vent it. You can't take the lid off until you vent it, just for safety. And it's pretty loud, so I usually just move it over and then it can go up into the head vent in the stove so that the smell kind of dissipates and it just goes a little bit easier. Then when you take the lid off, you add the veggies. So here's our pumpkin and our carrot. So that's really good for Ollie, for his digestion. And I cook that on high for 5 minutes this time. And then it's time for the grain. So these are the ingredients that we use for the grains in his meal. 3 cups of rice. We do 2 cups of barley and 1 cup of oats. You could mix these up a little bit. That's just what we usually do, and it seems to work well with him, so we probably won't change it unless there's a problem. So you just measure those out. I pour, half of them in, give it a stir, make sure that everything's mixed up together. That's really important. The Instapot doesn't do that on its own, so you got to do it. Pour in the other half. I always add some salt. That's the only seasoning in this dish. And he loves it, but without salt, I think it would be pretty bland, and he needs salt in his diet anyway. So I give it a stir. I cook it in the Instapot on slow cooker function for about 30 minutes, and then I open it up and just check it and see. You can also cook it with the lid off, and then more of the water will evaporate, which maybe makes it a little bit nicer for him. I've experimented with wetter food and drier food, and he seems to like a little bit on the drier side, although it's definitely still a wet food. So after that's all cooked up and it's the consistency that you like, I portion it out onto sheet pans just so that it will cool quite a bit faster than if I were to leave it in the Instapot. I wouldn't leave it in the Instapot because it takes a long time to cool anyway in the sheet pans. So I portion it out on there, make sure it's flat. It's really, really hot. So I just get that done, leave it on the counter for a little while until it's cool enough to portion up. Once it's cooled, you can put it into a container to freeze it. We just reuse these old yogurt containers or sour cream containers. I wouldn't do much bigger than this, especially just with one dog, because it takes him 3 or 4 days to eat through this whole thing, and you don't want it sitting around for too much longer than that. So yeah, I just pop it in there and then it can go in the freezer. I always let Ollie lick the sheet pan afterward. It's his reward for being so good while we're making dog food. It is definitely his favorite part of the day. And you can see him getting more and more excited as we make it. He just loves it, and he kind of knows what treat is coming. So yeah, that's a fun part of the tradition. So this is me just scooping the next sheet pan into the containers. This is honestly the worst part of the process because you're all done the work and you just have to put it away. Everything else is super easy. The Instapot really just makes it pretty hands off. You just need to go at the appropriate time and change something or add something or take something off. So this is the worst part, and it's not so bad. And then when you're finally done, this is the end result. You have these nice containers of dog food and a very excited puppy. What time is it? Ollie, is it dinner time? Is it dinner time, Ollie? Is it? Yeah, dinner for Ollie? What a lucky boy. Yeah, you're so lucky. Almost ready. It's almost ready. Once a week, usually on Saturday or Sunday, all depending on what's going on, Ollie does get a special treat. He gets a little less of his regular food, and then he gets an egg. Just one egg a week. We don't season it with anything. We just cook it up for him and mix it in a little bit with his food. Just have to make sure it's a little cool before serving it to him, even though he is very excited when it's egg night. And that's what he gets once a week or so. You ready? You ready to eat your supper? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump back on here and explain something. When I was editing the dog food video, I didn't realize that I didn't talk about how I prep the meat and the veggies beforehand. So what we do is we buy the 10-pound bag of carrots at Costco, and right away I cut those up and freeze them in Ziploc bags, and I freeze them in 2.5-pound bags. So 2.5 pounds of chopped up carrots, and I just do them all at once. So it takes maybe half an hour to get all that done, and you need a few of those big Ziploc freezer bags. The pumpkin that I buy it in October, so pumpkin season for Halloween. And we always have one pumpkin at the house. So if we carve that up, we use those little pieces that we carved. When we put a candle in it, we try to use a candle that has a holder so that the wax doesn't get all over the pumpkin, because then you couldn't use it. I'm also a teacher, so I buy a couple of pumpkins for my classroom, and we do the pumpkin seed thing, or they dig around in it, and that night I just take it home. I cut up the flesh of the pumpkin. The insides all go in the recycling or in the compost. And again, I do that in 2.5-pound Ziploc bags. So this year, I want to say we did 5 or 6 pumpkins, quite a lot, but we're now well into June, almost July, and we still have at least 2 bags of pumpkin left. So that works out. You can also use store canned pumpkin if you want. Don't use pumpkin pie filling. That's different than just straight up pumpkin. And then I wouldn't cook it. I would just add it to the meal when you're ready to serve. And the meat we usually buy at Costco or wherever it's a good deal. And my boyfriend chops that up and portions it out. So yeah, that's all the prep work involved. So on the days that we have those stuff, it's a lot of work to cut up the pumpkin, cut up the carrots, cut up the meat, but it doesn't take that long. And then when you're ready to make dog food, you just grab the bag, bring it out of the freezer and go. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Being a dog mom is one of my favorite things, so it was really fun to share how we make Ollie's dog food and just our process. If you have another way of doing it, let me know. We're always looking for different things to feed him. He loves his food, but I'm sure he would love a change as well. Anyway, thanks for watching.